Once upon a time in the great kingdom of Levendale, there lived a princess called Princess Constantia. People called her the blindfolded princess. Constantia was beautiful inside out. Her long wavy hair falling down her back in tousled curls shimmered in the light of the sun, and her voice so enchanting that even the leaves of the trees would turn towards her voice whenever she sang. As a child, Constantia had many friends that she'd play with, but as she grew up, lesser and lesser of her friends began to show up to play with her, until one day when there were none. They were tired of playing the same games over and over again, and each made excuses to not come back to play with her.
Actually, I'm going to visit my aunt who lives in a foreign land. I don't know when I'll be back, so...
Constantia was left with only one friend, her dog, Rustin.
Go fetch.
Constantia longed for her friends. She wanted to see what the world looked like, how people looked like. But Fairy Godmother had warned the king and the queen that Constantia must at all times have the blindfold on before she turns 18, for the giant of Circia might disguise himself as even the king or the queen, and if Constantia were to see him once, she would fall into his spell and he would take her to his land.
You can make all the friends you want after you turn 18, child. You can remove the blindfold and the giant spell will have no effect on you. In fact, after you are 18, it is him who'd need to run away from you, for a mere sight of yours will turn him into dust.
You see, when Constantia was born, her cries were melodious and sweet, as if it were filled with honey, swathed the halls of the palace with bliss. Her father, King Xerxes, who was very ill and downturned, suddenly recuperated from his sickness upon hearing the voice of his daughter. The kingdom rejoiced at the blessed birth of the princess, and a great feast was held. But dark clouds loomed over the fate of the child, and the great fairy godmother knew it well. My daughter can heal people with her voice. Nothing in the world can be unfortunate anymore.
It concerns her.
What is it, fairy godmother?
I see it in the stars that Constantia is in grave danger from the giant of Circia. But if she could escape his sight until she turns 18, he would have no more power over her.
What do you suggest? One day, when Constantia and Ruslan were playing in the palace garden, when Ruslan began to bark at a bush.
What is it, boy? Whatever it is, just let it be.
But Ruslan would not stop barking, and soon, clutching at Constantia's dress with his teeth, began pulling her towards the bush.
Oh, Ruslan, what are you? Ruslan! Stop! Ruslan!
Constantia was now curious, as she had never experienced such behavior from Ruslan. As curiosity got the better of her, she pulled down her blindfold a little and was dazzled by the sunlight.
Oh my! It is brighter than the lights in my room!
And so, Constantia pulled down the blindfold till her nose, and her heart leapt with joy.
Oh my world! Ruslan, you are so adorable! Oh, yes! What is it? Oh, it's a bird. It is hurt. Should we take it inside? No, Mother will find out I opened the fold. Let's just step out a little, help the bird, and then come back inside?
Constantia tunneled through the opening in the wall and picked up the bird carefully.
Heal, my dear, heal, give me all your pain, fly once again.
As the bird flew up in the air, Constantia smiled.
Yes, Rusin, I want to run after the bird too, talk to the wind and embrace the world with a hug. But we must go back inside.
No! You aren't going anywhere!
Huh?
It was the giant of Circia, who had been hiding behind the tree, waiting for the opportune moment.
At last I have got you, princess!
The giant... No!
Constantia! Rusin!
No!
On their way back to the Tower of Circia, the giant stopped at the woods by a river and tied Constantia and Rusin to a tree.
Stay put!
Oh, yeah.
And you, princess, wake up!
As the giant snapped his fingers, Constantia awoke from the stupor.
What? Where are we? Oh, giant, what do you want? Why have you abducted us? Why have been after my life?
So many questions, but I will tell answer. You are my redemption from the curse that makes me a giant. I am to give you to the Witch of the East in exchange of liberation, and what she does with your healing abilities is not my concern.
The Witch of the East?
Yes, she is very powerful. My nemesis, the giant of Sula, awaits me. I am to defeat him and procure the magical ring that will lead me to the Witch of the East. Now, stay put. I will be back soon.
When the giant went away, Rusin looked up at the tree, started to bark frantically. A squirrel trickled down the bark of the tree and looked at Constantia for a fleeting moment, began biting at the rope. Within moments, the rope was torn apart, and Constantia heaved in relief.
Thank you so much. I will never forget this. Oh, yes. Apologies. We need to run.
Constantia and Rusin ran and ran until they were far out of the woods and in a pasture where sheep grazed under the clear blue sky. Exhausted by fatigue, Constantia sat down under a tree and closed her eyes when she heard Rusin bark.
What is it, Rus? Oh!
Pardon me, beautiful lady. You seem tired and worn out. Is there anything that I can do for you? Are you the shepherdess? Apologies. I am Prince Magnus. Constantia thought for a while and then said,
Yes, I am. Indeed, the shepherdess. You see, my master wants me to tend the flock of sheep in this quiet place, but I am afraid the hungry giant that might come smelling them and take me with him.
Nonsense. I shall not see a woman become a giant's possession. Come with me to my palace, and I will speak with my mother, the queen, and she will be glad to gratify you. Prince Magnus took Constantia to his palace, where the queen agreed that the young maiden could flock their sheep. Constantia thanked her, and the prince, and from the next day, began working as the shepherdess of the kingdom.
Don't worry, Rus. It is only a matter of time. The giant will soon give up on his search for us, and then we can sneak out of here and go home. Also, I don't need to wear a blindfold anymore.
Prince Magnus, who was smitten by Constantia's beauty, visited her in the field every day. The two would talk and laugh and get immersed in each other's company. Soon they fell in love, and Constantia, for a brief moment, forgot about her home, her parents, and the giant. One day, when it was only a week before her 18th birthday, Prince Magnus and Constantia were sitting under a tree holding hands and building castles in the air. Suddenly, a viper snake appeared from behind the tree and bit Prince Magnus.
Oh no! It's a snake!
Prince Magnus, whose face started to turn blue, fell unconscious.
Oh, my prince! Wake up! Wake up!
At that moment, the queen, who was out on a stroll with a minister discussing matters of politics, suddenly heard the sound of someone singing in melancholy.
That voice, where is it coming from?
Heal, my dear, heal. Give me all your pain. Love me once again. Love me once again.
And at that moment, as the wind rustled the leaves, the blue from Prince Magnus's face dissipated. The bite mark of the snake healed, and the prince opened his eyes slowly. Constantia.
My love.
The queen, who saw everything unfurl in front of her eyes from a distance, rushed to her son and took him in her arms.
My son, what happened? Are you all right?
I am fine, Mother. A snake had bit me and I lost consciousness, only to awake to feel no pain. And look, even the mark has disappeared.
I saw everything. Who are you and how did you do it?
Constantia knew that she couldn't keep her identity a secret any longer and told them about her. You're the Princess of Lovendale? I've heard King Xerxes and Queen Nalada have been very ill ever since the princess was abducted.
What? Oh, I must go to my parents at once.
I will come with you. Constantia, along with Rusen and Prince Magnus, set out to go to the kingdom of Lovendale. They rode on, and when they were passing a thick jungle, the giant of Circia appeared in front of them. In a flash, he grabbed at Constantia and leaped into the air, jumping as he took long, earth-quaking strides before disappearing from sight. No! Suddenly, a bright light flashed in front of Prince Magnus's eyes, and standing in front of him was the fairy godmother. Who are you?
I am the fairy godmother, and you must do as I say. The giant has taken Constantia to his castle, and this is how you will get her back. Here is my ring. It will guide you to the castle where Constantia is imprisoned. Give it to her, and as soon as it is on her finger, she will become a dove.
A dove? Smiling, Fairy Godmother removed a flask of colorless liquid and sprinkled it over the prince. At once, Prince Magnus turned into a pigeon and flew off into the sky. Afternoon began to age into evening, and Constantia found herself leaning sadly over the balustrade on the top of the giant's tower, when the pigeon flew down and, pecking on her hand softly, laid the ring upon her hand.
Oh, thank you, Pigeon.
Who is that you're talking to?
In her fright, Constantia slipped the ring upon her finger, and in the same instant turned into a beautiful white dove. Surprised and furious, the giant rushed madly to the edge of the tower. But it was too late. The pigeon and the dove had taken off and were away from the giant's reach. Furious, Giant shook his fist into the sky and lost his balance and fell headlong into the sea. The pigeon and the dove reached the jungle, where they found Fairy Godmother awaiting them along with Russin.
Heal my mother, heal. Heal my father, heal. Give me all your pain. Love me once again. Love me once again.
And with gold dust emanating from their body, the king and the queen opened their eyes. And thus came Princess Constantia's 18th birthday. The entire kingdom was lit up in colorful lights and fireworks, emblazoned the sky with Princess Constantia's face. Everyone rejoiced, and Princess Constantia was ecstatic to see beautiful lights in the sky and all over the kingdom. And what about her story with Prince Magnus, you ask? Of course, they were married in a grand wedding some years later, where fairies from all around the world graced them with their presence. And during the wedding, Fairy Godmother announced,
And it shall be in the days to come, people will say to the bridegroom and the bride, May you be as happy as King Pigeon and Queen Dove.
Go King Pigeon!